A man was killed for his gold, and the treasure was lost. Is it possible to find the gold 100 years later?
You know what really makes the Sierra Nevada wildland so special to me is that they sort of beckon to the adventurer.
They sure do. And this legend will also take us whitewater rafting through canyons and rock climbing on cliffs. Next time on Lost Legends of the West. A man who went by the name Tyroff lay dying in the streets of San Francisco. Dr. Berlin, the local doctor, rushed to his side to help him. Then the doctor heard an unbelievable story unfold. The man said he and his partner, a man named Overson, had a claim just 3 miles outside of the small town of McCullamy Hill, past 3 canyons. They worked day and night and found plenty of gold. Once a week, Overson would go into town to exchange the raw gold for minted coins. Tyroff would wait anxiously for a long time for his partner to return, longer than it should take. Overson would always return with just a few coins. Was this all that his gold was worth? Early the next morning, Tyroff awoke to find Overson gone. He searched high and low. Then, from the top of a high range, he found him counting hundreds of coins. Overson had been stealing them from him. That night, Tyroff killed Overson in his sleep and ran away. And now, years later, he's returned for his gold, only to be shot in a bar fight. With rough directions, Dr. Berlin went out looking for Tyroff's gold, but found nothing.
I'm Joanna Skye, and in this week's episode of Lost Legends of the West, we're going to head straight back to McCullamy Hill to see if we can find more than the doctor did, to see if we can find the gold.
Every legend has some truth. Every truth has some legend. We find the truth in the legend.
Hi, and welcome back. I'm standing in front of the McCullamy Hill History Society, located in the heart of the Motherlode country in Northern California. With residents like Kit Carson and Mark Twain You can only imagine how rich this town is in history. Tierhoff and Overson mine their gold within hiking distance of this location. If they spent a penny on supplies or booze, you can bet they spent it here at the Hotel Legger. Also, according to our account, the doctor stayed here when he came to investigate the gold, but didn't have any luck. Hopefully we will. So in just a moment, I'm going to go investigate the hotel. In the 1870s, Overson buried almost 300 pounds of gold, and if we find it today, it would be worth more than $2 million.
This hotel is unbelievable. It is right out of the Old West. The Legger Hotel is not just an old bed and breakfast. It is a legacy of forgotten lifestyles.
They hung a lot of people. The Society of Vigilantes was formed here in McCollamy Hill. When they thought someone had committed a certain crime, they just strung them up. And at one time they hung, I can't remember the figure, 19 people in 1 week or something like that. But then the vigilantes went to the point of hanging people for personal reasons. Like they wanted somebody's property, or they thought someone had insulted them, and they were stringing them up like that.
I then got a first-hand account of a ghost story.
My personal experience was one New Year's Eve. I'd had a little bit too much to drink, so I didn't want to drive home up Jesus Maria, winding, curvy mountain road. And so Mark said, well, stay over here in, I think it's room 12. Did you find out if it's 7 or 12? It seemed to me that I woke up with a strong smell of smoke, and the room was just totally black. And I looked towards the window, and there was a form bent over, holding what looked like a baby in its arms, and it was keening, you know, like Irish women keen when they've had a tragedy happen to them and at funerals and things like that. And it just frightened me to the point where I was paralyzed. And if you hear something in the hall and you go to the door and open it up and you see a line of cigar smoke, that's the George Legger. He seems to travel the hall smoking his cigars late at night.
While walking through the halls of the hotel, I could imagine the doctor just gearing up for his treasure hunt, sure that a golden treasure awaited him.
Hotel Legger has been the backdrop of several deadly fires, barroom riots, and even murder. There's no surprise that this hotel is the centerpiece for many local legends. Apparently, the guests that check in aren't the only ones staying here. There have been reports of whispers in the hall, shadows by the bedside, and even the original owner leaving a trail of cigar smoke for his guests.
The hotel has an even more eerie history about it. A jail cell in the basement imprisoned outlaws before they were hung. You can see the ventilation shaft in the front of the hotel.
This was McCollamy Hills Jail. Actually, I'm going to leave this door open. Ooh. Let's take a look. Ooh. This must be where they got served dinner. Large enough slot just for food, and that's about all. And you know there's no way they dug out of here. Look at this. Solid rock. And over here, this must have been either a bench, probably a bed, or maybe this was one of their beds. Extended out. Prisoner could sleep up here, no problem. One of the many prisoners that they crammed in here. And with all of them in here, this up here was the only ventilation that they had. Just that tiny, tiny hole. Whew. I can't stay in here much longer. Getting a little creeped out. There were a couple of interesting things we found in the basement. One of them that I wanted to come back here and take a closer look at were the ledgers to the hotel. As you can see, this is the hotel register. This one is from the year 1979, which is a little too recent for me. Let's see if we can find an older one. Have to be very careful with these books. Whew! (1917) W.C. Griffin. Let's try pulling out one more and see what we can look at. Oh, 1904? Wow. You know what that means? That means that the doctor should be listed in here. Oh, I'm going to have to take a minute and sit down and look through this.
Looking through the ledgers fascinated me. I found many interesting names, like Rudolph Valentino, a famous movie actor from the turn of the century. Valentino's wife traveled the country searching for antiques and unique getaway spots. He was probably on one of those trips when they stopped here. My friend Mark, the hotel owner, has found the signatures of Samuel Clemens, Randolph Hearst, and many others in these very ledgers. Unfortunately, I could not find the doctor's name in here. Some pages have fallen out and water has made some entries entirely illegible.
I'm hiking east from Mokelumne Hill looking for the Three Canyons, and since it's only 3 miles, I thought I might as well hike by a river where gold is deposited and maybe I'll find something. Oh, I did find something. Here's some whitewater rafters.
These rafters told me about their 3-day trek and how the rapids are artificial. Dams that are upstream open every day, providing only a few hours of amazing rafting. Walking along the river was neat. I just imagined 2 prospectors walking through this same area to their campsite. The doctor must have walked along this route as well on his quest for the gold.
There's kayakers down here. They can't even come down that. They have to actually get out and walk down.
Well, not everyone walks down. There were a few brave kayakers who made it through. This river is littered with outdoor enthusiasts. I met a couple of adventurers that are professional whitewater rafters. Cool job, huh?
Hi, I'm Jay Ostis of Sierra Mac River Trips, and we do the majority of the commercial work here on the Cherry Creek stretch of the Tuolumne River. This is a solid Class 5 run.
And what is a Class 5? Can you describe it?
Yeah, it's usually meaning it's more technical. There's some moves that you need to make, some obstacles to avoid, and some potential consequences if you don't succeed.
Ooh, consequences as in?
Well, like you're alluding to, flipping or rapping on a rock, or swimming in Class 5 whitewater, which you want to avoid. Whenever we take people up here, who are new to us, we have them do a swim test where they swim across swift current to both sides of the river, and swim underneath the boat to demonstrate that they can self-rescue out here should they come out of the raft.
They let me ride with them down the river to where the legendary cabin is supposed to be.
going. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was such a great trip.
You did really well.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Woo! To be super safe getting out of here. That ride was so awesome. That totally cut my time in half. I'm now 3 miles east of where I started, and now I'm going to continue my hike up through into the canyons and look for that gold. Seriously, I can't believe I just came down there. I think there was 1, 2, 3, I don't know, 4 or 5 times I almost fell out. Whew, such a good time. Can't wait to go back. But I'm going to hike on.
Here I met with Bob Wetzel, a national park ranger with a great passion for the outdoors. The cabin is supposedly somewhere in the Carson Iceberg Wilderness, and this, coincidentally, is where Bob is a ranger.
Carson Iceberg Wilderness was designated as a part of the National Wilderness Preservation System in 1984. There's 95,000 acres on the Stanislaus National Forest that are part of the Carson Iceberg Wilderness. An additional large chunk of the Carson Iceberg is over on the east side of the Sierra Nevada crest on the Toyabe National Forest. That's where it gets the first part of its name, the Carson watershed, Carson River watershed. The iceberg part of the name of that wilderness is named after Iceberg Peak, which is this magnificent mountain not far from here. You know what really makes the Sierra Nevada wildland so special to me is that they sort of beckon to the adventurer, to the wildland explorer. John Muir called them gentle wilderness because of that fact. The large slabs of granite, the large old-growth forests with a carpet of heather or low ground cover beneath. They're sort of friendly to amble out into and sort of feel the pulse of the living land.
Welcome back. According to the legend, Tira followed Overson into a canyon similar to the one I'm in right now, where he watched him hide his cache of gold under a granite boulder. I am surrounded by granite. I just need to get lower. And to help me do that is my friend Jason Landis, an expert rock climber who's going to show me his way to get to the bottom. Can you give me some tips on how we're going to get to the bottom of this canyon safely?
So, by nature, the definition of rappelling is hooking up to some form of an anchor, in which case you are then going to be able to safely lower down. We're going to have 2 opportunities to hook up anchors today. One of them is going to be off of a natural anchor such as a tree. To do that, we're going to use a couple of sewn slings, and we're going to use a locking carabiner. The second thing we're going to be able to do today is hook up to a bolted anchor, and a bolted anchor is actually screwed into the rock. To use those to set up an anchor, we're actually going to use a couple of quick draws. The quick draws are placed into that pro or into that anchor, and then they're used to lower down. To actually do the lowering, we're going to use a locking carabiner and an ATC. An ATC is a rappel device. You're going to hook that up to your harness, feed the rope through, and lower down, and that's really going to be your safety piece as we're doing that. As we talked about before, the first anchor we've set up here is a natural anchor. In this case, we've used a tree and a couple of the sewn slings. Using the middle point of the rope, we're going to tie it into a couple of locking carabiners. And you want to make sure that those are fully locked. So that's going to be the first safety feature, through a couple of locking carabiners and through sewn slings. The other thing we're going to do, if you're ever in doubt that you do not have enough rope length, it's always good to tie a couple knots in the end of the rope. That way you can't rappel off the end of the rope. So we're going to throw the rope down now and set Joe up on rappel.
That was a much better way to get down. Now it's time to go look under some granite boulders.
This area has a ton of rocks that would make a perfect hiding place. Unfortunately, none of them were golden rocks.
Overson really went out of his way to hide his gold. Whether it's greed or passion, miners and outlaws have been hiding their treasure for ages throughout the Motherlode country. If you go searching for gold, always have a game plan for safety. No treasure is worth your life. And don't be afraid to use my research for your advantage. There's no telling what documents or artifacts we may uncover as treasure hunters on our journey. And remember, as Henry Van Dyke said, the goal of his journey may be won. He may rest, but he is never idle. 1,000 years may pass like a day in glad surprise of paradise where work may be sweeter than play. So until next time, I'm Joanna Skye, and this has been Lost Legends of the West.
You can stay at the historic Legger Hotel. Whether you're lounging by the pool or drinking at the Old Time Saloon, you're sure to have a good time. Call 209-286-1401. That's 209-286-1401.